Welcome back to Movie Moshow. Today we are going to review the science fiction thriller series, The Andromeda Strain. If you like our content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We post multiple times daily. Spoilers ahead. Two kids discover a crashed American government satellite outside Piedmont, Utah, and bring it back to the community. A dangerous microbe, later given the U.S. Army's moniker Andromeda, is released by the town's residents as they open the container. The Army's Biological Defense Unit sends a crew to retrieve the satellite, but they end up getting sick and dying. General George Manchek, the group's leader, is alerted by the video footage taken by the retrieval team and their unusual deaths. As a result, he activates Wildfire, a squad of 5 scientists that is sent out whenever there is a high-level bioterror danger in the United States. The squad looks into Piedmont under the direction of its inventor, Dr. Jeremy Stone. They save the colicky infant and a hysterical 60-year-old who had survived the Andromeda outbreak in addition to retrieving the satellite. The Wildfire team starts their analysis of the downed satellite and the 2 survivors in a remote underground laboratory. A little nuclear reactor that is water-cooled powers the lab. A 15-minute self-destruct sequence would be automatically triggered in the event of a contamination breach, but if the activated sequence is deemed unnecessary, only Major Bill Keene, who is identified by the Oddman hypothesis, is able to deactivate the sequence using his pass key and right thumbprint. The researchers take a sample from within the satellite and use it to start their examination of the Andromeda strain. When they first see that the bacterium has a lot of buckyballs, the research team assumes that Andromeda is the result of sophisticated synthetic biology. Since Andromeda lacks both DNA and amino acids, the team speculates that it may also have come from another planet. The crew learns that Andromeda is an airborne microbe that kills its victim by coagulating the blood in the body, which results in death within 10 seconds via a blood clot in the brain. It enters the bloodstream through the lungs. Those who make it through the blood clot have mad, violent, and suicidal tendencies. It is discovered that the 2 Piedmont survivors were unaffected by Andromeda because to their acidic blood. The cell is discovered to be resistant to every antibiotic known after further testing. Reporter for cable news Jack Nash learns about some of the happenings involving the lost satellite and Andromeda. Chuck Beater, the director of the NSA, conducts assassinations using Colonel Ferris, General Manchek's aide, while he continues his investigation to stop the general populace from learning about Andromeda. Nash visits one of the temporary Army outposts where quarantine measures are being carried out, where he observes the impacts of Andromeda spreading through various transit mediums. Due to his presence at the outpost, he becomes a target for murder, but he manages to get away from Ferris and his men. In the meantime, a government organization plots to contain the bacterium for future uses, perhaps involving weapons. General Manchek purposefully isolates the Wildfire team and breaks their contact with the lab's exterior in order to tackle the problem. Jack Nash is able to inform Dr. Stone about Project Scoop, a covert initiative that the government and General Manchek kept a secret. Manchek admits the truth about the satellite after Wildfire presses him to do so, and he becomes concerned for the safety of everyone in the world in light of Andromeda's threat. One of the initiatives to look into a wormhole or singularity that has suddenly arisen in the solar system was Project Scoop. The satellite, which had been sent particularly to gather biological samples, broke down as it got close to the wormhole and plummeted back to Earth. The poisonous toxin was unleashed when it was picked up. The President of the United States orders a minor tactical nuclear strike on the quarantine zone in an effort to minimize the threat, with the goal of thoroughly irradiating and destroying Andromeda. The Wildfire crew learns that they have not examined the test findings for irradiating Andromeda when they are informed. They discover that when exposed to radiation, the bacterium expands exponentially. Before the pilot can launch the nuclear missile, the President is informed by the Wildfire team, and the airstrike is aborted. However, when the fighter jet flies over the quarantine zone, the pilot reports an issue with the controls of the aircraft. The Wildfire team and President watch in terror and shock as every plastic part of the aircraft, including the pilot's visor, starts to fall apart via video link. The nuclear missile is rearmed, the fighter plane and missile collide with the ground, and the missile explodes, radioactively contaminating the containment zone. When the team watches the crash tape, they see that Andromeda has undergone another mutation and is now capable of consuming nylon. The Wildfire team is working to find a way to stop Andromeda before it reaches Las Vegas, the closest city to the quarantine zone with an international airport, as it grows and mutates into more dangerous forms and feeds on everything from mammals and reptiles to the bird population. Andromeda is actually a sulfur-based bacterium, according to further research. Bacteriophage experiments show that one phage can eradicate Andromeda. The Wildfire team theorizes that Andromeda can communicate through an unknown method among its many pieces after repeated attempts to use this virus are unsuccessful. The team suspects Andromeda to be a message according to the messenger theory by the time they find a binary code on its cell wall encoded on buckyballs with potassium and rubidium atoms. A bitmap image of a sign with interlocking triangles and the 6-digit number 739,528 were also contained in the data, along with the ASCII encoded words Bacillus infernus and the words. The bacterium known as Bacillus infernus can only be found in thermal vents. The mining of thermal vents, a new and contentious industry, was being promoted at the time by President Scott, and it was anticipated that the mining would obliterate the bacteria. To start examining the bacteria's effects on Andromeda, Wildfire requests samples from it. According to experiments with Bacillus infernus, Andromeda's sulfur structure makes it simple for the bacterium to devour and destruct it. In order to rid a quarantine area of the extraterrestrial bacterium, the Wildfire team starts to grow enormous quantities of the bacteria in culture vats. They plan to spray the liquid culture across the quarantine area. Dr. Stone speculates and takes into account the possibility that Andromeda did not attack until the nuclear warhead's launch sequence was stopped, which means colonies of it could likely think and so attack the jet to force the warhead to be detonated, thereby accelerating their own growth. As the team watches the video footage of the crashed fighter jet. In an effort to stop Andromeda from communicating, the crew starts destroying the lab's remaining Andromeda samples. Colonel Ferris threatens Dr. Barton to keep one sample container as part of a government plot to store Andromeda cultures for later use. When the bacteria's container breaks down, the lab's contamination breach sensor activates, starting the self-destruct procedure. Cho's photosensitive epilepsy is triggered by the self-destruct sequence, which also causes the flashing emergency lights to come on. Cho then accidentally destroys the self-destruct control panel on the complex's lab level. The self-destruct process has disabled the elevators, so Keen chooses to use the lab's primary exhaust vent to ascend to the control panel on the level above. However, the escaped Andromeda has caused the pipes and other parts of the vent to start to degrade. Keen is dangling above the radioactive water at the vent's base when the conduit he is climbing abruptly bends. Keen succeeds in flinging Stone his badge before tumbling. Cho risks his life by diving into the radioactive water to amputate Keen's right thumb for Stone after realizing that it is also necessary to do so in order to stop the self-destruct sequence. Stone quickly gets to the control panel and quickly deactivates the sequences using Keen's thumb and badge. The microorganisms eventually completely eliminate any signs of Andromeda. General Manchek and Colonel Ferris are both slain covertly while the remaining members of the Wildfire Squad attend the funerals of their deceased teammates. In an interview with Jack Nash, Dr. Stone makes some of the events known to the general public. The stored Andromeda sample is placed inside a BSL-4 compartment marked with an interlocking triangle symbol and the access code 739,528 in the film's concluding scene. On the computer in his office, Director Beater keeps an eye on the process. Then, when the camera pans out, it becomes apparent that Andromeda has been kept aboard an Earth-orbiting space station. The conclusion raises an ontological conundrum regarding the origin of the cell by implying that the sample kept on the space station is the root of the epidemic in the future that made it necessary to bring the organism back to the present via the wormhole. The conclusion also suggests that Andromeda was a truly intelligent being because the future Andromeda outbreak occurred after Bacillus infernus, the only organism capable of eradicating Andromeda, was utterly destroyed. As a result, Andromeda avoided unnecessary risks by waiting for its ideal opportunity. Thank you for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe.